Here's a video about our sales process from the beginning to the end on how to get the first yes from the customer. So here we go. The phone rang and you said yes because you were a great student and you followed the phone script. You said yes. You asked the questions for level 1, level 2. You didn't ask questions for level 1. That was tricky. You just told them to come in. Level 2, you asked the right questions. Level 3, you sold hope and they came in. And as we expected, they were upset, but you smiled. You used the 3-second rule as we did in the write-up video. If you haven't watched that, please watch that video. You asked 5 questions because you wanted to build rapport and you wanted to find the objections, because the definition of sales, as you remember from the write-up video, is to overcome objections. And what you did with those 5 questions was you made the customer feel at ease, but you were also able to find your objections and overcome them, or plan to overcome them. And then you set expectations of what we're going to do and when we were going to contact the customer. Now, the when is very important because speed is equal to sales. For drop-offs, we call them back within 30 minutes. And for waiters, we address them within 15 minutes. This is huge. 50% of sales is, in fact, speed. The reason I'm saying that is because one of the objections you are going to find is the ability that the customer can trust your abilities or not, or whether they can trust your character. And you can overcome a lot of that with speed. Now, the point of the isolation number 1, so that is the next step, right? So we're going from the customer writing up to what we call isolation number 1. Now, you might be like, why do we call it isolation? That's a good question. We call it isolation because we isolate the customer's concern. The customer comes in for an issue, we focus on that first, because the only thing we want to do is take care of what the customer cares about. And from there on, if a customer comes in for brakes, we want to focus on brakes and we want to sell the brakes, pitch the brakes, focus on the brake, isolate the brakes so that we can get that first yes. Now, there's another rule that I want to point out. I want to point these rules out here for you so you can see them. This is a rule and this is a rule, right? We got to live by our rules so you can get audited and you can actually see how that works. Now, rules for waiters is 15 minutes. You got to get dressed in 30 minutes for drop-offs. The other rule is you cannot pitch more than $800 right out of the gate. So from 0 to 800 max. Now, how do you get that first yes? Before you go in there and you pitch the ticket, you got to do what we call pre-pitch work. Pre-pitch is of 2 steps. Step number 1 is you got to get photos of the issue and upload them to Techmetric. Step number 2, you get a Motivisuals link. That's actually both step 1. Step 2 is get an outline of a presentation on the back of the RO. So you guys get an RO and you'll have all this stuff on the front of it. And what you want to do is you want to outline the presentation, which is right there. You're going to write down the good, and so on and so forth, what we're going to get into. So you want to outline the presentation before you go in there, and you may even want to pitch it to one of your guys. So the pre-pitch, again, is to get photos, Motivisuals, and outline the presentation. From there on, you're going to go right into what we call the pitch. The pitch is super simple. We call it the poop sandwich. And the poop sandwich starts out with an introduction, good, good, bad, good, good, assume close, and set up the next sale. That is the outline for every sale you will ever make in your life, period. No matter what you sell, whether it's auto repair or plumbing, does not matter. And how the poop sandwich works, now that assuming you have done all of these things, you've done the pre-pitch work, you pick up that phone, you've already done the presentation to one of your guys, and you've already outlined it, and now you're doing it probably hopefully for the second time because you've done it on paper. You're going to start out with the energy. You're going to introduce yourself. Hey, this is Zane from AutoPro. How's everything going? Is this Joe? Hey, Joe, good to hear from you. Do you have a couple minutes? Is now a good time? You roll right into good news. Good news. Hey, good news. We inspected your vehicle and we found the problem that you were dealing with. Is that good news? Absolutely. From there on, you go to say, hey, me and my master tech, Mike, inspected your vehicle and the vehicle is in overall very good shape. These Toyota Highlanders, man, they're awesome. They last forever. Mike knows these cars inside out. We work on them a ton of times in our shop. These are great cars. You sold the vehicle, you sold the car, you sold you sold the tech, you sold the shop. The next thing you want to go into is the bad news, which in our case is all very normal. What we did find, Joe, is we found that your brakes from the front pads and rotors are both worn out pretty down to almost nothing. They are pretty horrible. I understand why that noise was getting on your nerves. If you actually check your phone, I actually sent you a link for photos of all those pads and rotors. You can actually see where I circled them. This is why it helps so much to have a circle, so you can actually refer to it. What I like to do is I like to have the customer on the phone. Hey Joe, can you put me on speaker? You can actually see photos of the brakes that I'm about to talk about. Click on that link. You see the first photo, how the rotors are so rusted. Yeah, that's not supposed to look like that. If you check the next link, you can actually see motor visuals, what normal pads and rotors do, how they operate. It's a very important component of your brakes. They are very worn out. They should have been done a little bit earlier. You're already overcoming an objection, which is, can I wait? And you want to say that right here, because if they could wait, then you wouldn't be pitching the item, right? We don't pitch things that aren't needed. So you want to pitch that ahead of time, and you want to tell them that it needs to be done. Also, you can do the work because you sold the tech. So now you roll right into, does that make sense? How the pads and rotors are worn out? Do you see that? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, wonderful. Well, you roll right into the good news. Well, the good news is I can have them done. I can have the parts available. Mike is really good at them. We also have a 2-year warranty on the work we do. And then you kind of get into a little bit of what it takes to do the job. I always like to do a little bit of, hey, we do have to take off the rotors or take off the pads. We'll grease the slide pins. And it does come with a 2-year warranty. This is all good news because you can do their job, right? They came in expecting you to fix their car. And you're saying, hey, I can fix your car. And you can do it in a timely fashion. I can have this done by tomorrow. This is all good news, guys. And I would list those things out right in your outline. Write about all the things that is good. You can do the work. Now the price, right? A lot of guys are getting scared of the price. The price is actually good news. Why? Because you can do the work and you can charge a fair charge for it. We're not an ostentatious shop. And what I like to do is we usually have coupons for everything. So what I like to do is, well, I can have it done. The parts are available. It comes a 2-year warranty. We'll take the rotors off, pads off. Another thing I like to add is they will last 50,000 miles, right? If your car had 50,000, you had original brakes, my brakes will probably last about that long as you continue to drive in the same way. So they'll last you about 50,000. That's great news, right? You're building that value in there, which we call value proposition. You're selling the value of what you're about to tell them. Now, the price you say at the very end, this is crucial because if you say the price up here, they're not listening. They're just thinking about the price. So you're building the value, the good, the good, the bad, the good. And the final good is I can get this done. We actually have a coupon right now. It's $50 off. Normally it's $494 for pads and rotors. We can actually get it done for $444 today. And I do have those in stock. Do you have any questions for me? Right? And what I like to do is I'm going to have it done by 5, right? So that's where I get into the assume close. So the pads are 444, pads and rotors. I can have it done by 5 p.m. today. Do you have any questions, right? You're already assuming that you're going to go with it. No, I don't have any questions is what you want to hear for. If they have any questions, you are coming into objection zone. Objection zone is a dark zone for people that don't prepare. And sometimes you might get them anyway, but ideally you do not want them, right? You do not want, because again, your job as a salesperson is to not want objections, so you can get right into the sale. So the common objections we normally deal with are the car's not worth it, I don't have time, I don't have money, I don't trust you guys. Not worth it. Honestly, if you just build the value of the car right out of the gate at the write-up, in the pre-pitch, in the pitch, you're not going to deal with that. The time, again, if you have been fast right out of the gate, you can overcome that because they see you as somebody who is very conscious of time. Money, we have financing options we can get into. And the trust, again, a lot of the trust is people don't trust your ability or your character. And the ability kind of goes into whether you're selling the shop properly and you're selling the technician. If you did that right out of the gate, they will never trust your ability because you're a professional. Character, man, honestly, it just goes back into times. Because if you keep your times promises, chances are they're going to see you as a professional. So again, you want to set up the ticket near the end of the presentation that I can have this done for you. The parts are available. It's 2-year warranty. It'll last you 50,000 miles. I have a discount right now on pads and rotor. Normally it's $494. Actually, I get it down to you for $444. And I'm going to get started on this. I can have it done by 5 p.m. Do you have any questions for me? At that point, if they say no, then you go right ahead and say, well, no problem, Joe. I'm going to go ahead and get started on this. I will call you with anything else. Let me pause here. You want to say, well, great, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And while I am there, I'm going to have Mike look over your whole car to make sure everything is safe. Now, you don't want to sound like you're selling and finding stuff to sell. What you want to make it, which we are doing, is making sure we're looking out for their best interests. Is this value we're providing? Yes. If you're actually doing an inspection on a whole vehicle for them to make sure they're safe. That is actually value. People charge for that. You're going to do that for absolutely no charge. So that goes something like this. Hey Joe, we're going to go ahead and do your pads and orders. I'll go ahead and get started. Since you don't have any questions, I can have it done by 5. While Mike is working on the car, I'm going to have him look over the whole vehicle. I'm going to put air up in your tires. I'll rotate the tires if they need to be. If any of the fluids are low, we'll go ahead and top them off. And if there's anything else that I see that doesn't look right, I will get a hold of you within the hour, hour and a half. Great. I'll talk to you soon. Do you have any more questions? No. You are not asking for permission to do an inspection because you are giving them value. If you give something for free, most people are going to say yes, especially if it's valuable, right? Does this customer, in most cases, do they know how to do a full vehicle safety inspection on their car? No. 90% of customers don't know that. They don't have a lift. They don't have the equipment. And you're giving that to them for free. It's going to take like 10 minutes or so to do a full vehicle inspection. It's going to take a couple guys to do a full DVI. And you're giving them that service. And yes, we do those tire rotations for free, top offs for free. That is part of the value that we provide to our customers. And if you do see something in the process, that is when you set up that next call, and we'll get into that in isolation number 2 if there's more work that's needed on the system and on the vehicle. When we get to the PMI, we'll talk about the vehicle and the PMI, and we'll talk about the brake system in this case when we got to ISO number 2. All right, guys, I hope that's helpful. You can always rewind and watch this video if I went too fast. But remember, the sale begins when you start the write-up, and the isolation is basically trying to get that first yes. You got to meet the speeds. That's the rule. You got to meet the dollar amount. You can't go over 800. That's the rule. You got to do the pre-pitch, get the photos, get the motor visuals. If it's a waiter, I still like having photos, but ideally you want to show and sell. And also, if it's a drop off, you gotta have photos. 50% of sales is photos, guys. Seeing is believing, and the other 50% is speed. Honestly, the pitch is so important given the poop sandwich. But if you do these things, you don't even have to have that good of a pitch. It's so crucial they do these things. Outline the presentation. This is almost a guaranteed smooth pitch, because if you outline it on the back, you're gonna have a smooth pitch. And when you do go to the pitch, remember an intro that always starts with, you have a couple minutes. Give them the good. I inspected, found the issue, sell the tech, sell the vehicle, get to the problem, show them the photos, go over it all over as far as we can have it done. The good news is we can have it done. The good news is we can have the parts available. It has come with a warranty. The good news is we have a discount, and I can get it done. Assume the close that we're going to get it done by such and such time. If they have any questions, and if they don't, then say we're going to do a full safety vehicle inspection. If there's anything wrong, we will let you know. And I'm going to check the rest of the system for you to make sure that the rest of the brake system's good. And I like to always say that I'm going to check the calipers for you. I'm going to check the brake hoses for you. I like to actually mention the parts in the system by name that we're going to talk about in ISO 2. So don't forget that. I did add that at the end. Remember, mention the parts at the end of the ISO 1 that you may be checking and calling on in ISO 2, which are the brake hoses and the calipers in this case. If it's a suspension, there'll be different items. I hope that's helpful, guys. Thank you very much. We'll go and talk more about ISO 2 in the next video.